Morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. Could you bow your heads with me, please? Father, we thank you for this time that we have as a people to reflect, to celebrate, to honor. We thank you for this morning, for the blessings that you've poured upon this country. We thank you for our Governor General, for the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, for the Chief of Defense Staff, and for all those who serve as ministers and as persons responsible for the good governance of our country. We thank you for our servicemen, those who served, those who are currently serving. We thank you for our people. And we ask, O God, in this time of reflection and consideration, that you will be pleased to bless us, bless this nation, bless this region. Be with us in this proceeding this morning, we ask, through your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Thank you very much. You may be seated. As a result, actually it's supposed to be, yes. Ladies and gentlemen, Your Excellency, Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General, Sir Trevor Thomas, National Security Advisor and retired Chief of Defense Staff, and Brigadier, Lieutenant Colonel Philip, representing the current Chief of Defense Staff, and senior officers and warrant officers of Antigua Barbuda Defense Force, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Rodney Williams, Mr. Utley Rodney, and senior officers. Here's the problem here is that I can't find my Master of Ceremonies, so of course, I have to jump right in, yes? But that's what being a soldier is all about, isn't it? Yes, of course. President of the Ex-Servicemen Association, Mr. Brown, and Chairman of our Ex-Servicemen Association, Mr. Mullin. Our very special guest, Miss Weeks, from Kids Unlimited and the grade 5 class. And points to note, Miss Weeks, her father, Aubrey Mead, and her uncle, Noel Mead, served in the RAF during the war. And I've just learned that this morning, actual fact, Mr. Noel Mead was also a trustee of the Legion, of course, with the forerunner to the Antigua Ex-Servicemen Association. We're so glad that you and your children are here. Representative from the Scouts, a youth leader. I have to call him by his well-known popular name, the Mighty Mussy. Members of the Ex-Servicemen Association, its executive and other members, special guests, the media. It is indeed a pleasure to have you here this morning on this very important occasion where we bring heightened awareness to the poppy and what it represents. So without any further ado, it is my pleasure to call on the Chairman of the Antigua Barbuda Ex-Servicemen Association, Mr. Fillmore Mullin, to make some remarks. Mr. Mullin.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony. Your Excellency, former Chief of Defense Staff, Commissioner, Rep of the ABDF, a special good morning to Ms. Weeks and the children. Okay. Other guests, welcome. It is always a pleasure to bring you words of any kind on an occasion such as this. Today, if you permit me, to reflect on why we're here. Those of us old enough and those who would have been taught would probably recall the two great wars that they referred to, World War I and World War II. And I want to take you back in time and to just reflect, first on World War I and then World War II, where our forebears, along with other members of the armed forces from different parts of the world, imagining that warfare was not as developed as it is today, and the courage that it would have taken to see men of opposite sides facing each other, usually at very close distances, and going forward, knowing fully well that if you're lucky, you may be injured, and if you're not so lucky, you'll perish. That must have taken a hell of a lot of courage. And they did so for our benefit. World War II was not much different, just that warfare would have been developed and they didn't have to go that close as often, but the results would have been the same. From looking at the history of these two events, and a perfect example is here this morning, where the Meade brothers from the same family would have served, and there are many other examples like that, in Barbuda and Antigua, and the different agencies that they were drawn from, the police, the then military, the Red Cross, the nurses, the cadet, merchant shipping, and the list go on and on. They all served, and they served with pride. Some of them were not as lucky to come back alive, some were injured. And so this particular occasion is for us to remember them, but most importantly, to reflect on the privilege that we now have to be free men and women because of the sacrifices that they made. Lest we forget. And to the children, we will endeavor to continue to teach you as you grow up through the years the sacrifices that were made so that we can live free men and free women. Very special welcome to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen, Chairman of our Ex-Servicemen Association, and once one of my instructors and also became my SAR major when I was a company commander. We go back a long time. It gives me great pleasure also now to welcome, to give a few remarks, the president of our association, Mr. Hilroy Johnson Brown.
Your Excellency, Brigadier Sir Trevor Thomas, I like that name. Atley, why are we forgetting Rodney? I got it this time. Funny thing, last night when I was thinking about it, I had to ask my wife, what's the Commissioner of Police last name again? Because it's always like Williams coming in the head. So, Lieutenant Colonel, my good friend here, Philip, specially invited guests, Miss Weeks from the Kids United Unlimited School and her grade 5 class. And I'm glad that the children are out today because some years ago, Her Excellency, Lady Williams organized an exhibition and we invited many schools. And to this day, the only thing that we have is a bunch of letters that we got from kids from grade 5 and grade 6 at St. Nicholas Primary School. And they wrote wonderful things of what they learned about lest we forget. Other members of the association, distinguished guests, welcome all. Today, I would just like to say that my chairman has already said many of the things that I had in my chain of thought. But I will look back on the fact that the reason why we wear the poppy is to symbolize the respect we have for those gallant men and women who went off to war willingly. They were not forced. The British came and they said they were recruiting. And if you want to join, you go and join. And I always tell a story that my father wanted to go off, but he was flat-foot. And he had a carpenter. He was a contractor, and the carpenter was part of the voluntary force. And every day, on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, when he was going to the defense force up at Botanical Garden, my father would say, take the boy with you. Take the boy with you. Let him get in the army. And that is how I ended up in the defense force. So, not that I needed any discipline. Discipline was a big thing in our house. Not the strap, a cut eye, or a kind of a look, and you know what's going to happen to you next. So yes, like I said, we wear the poppy to symbolize the respect we have for those gallant men and women who would have fought the wars. And it sounds kind of cliche when you talk to people about it, that they fought for the freedom we enjoy today. You know, people ask, what do you mean by that? What they did? I said, can you imagine a man going to the battlefront, far, far thousands of miles away from his home to fight, and what was then called the mother country, for king and country. And he had no, if you ask some people today, they say, I have no business in that. You know, so we took over from the Legion, and the poppy appeal went out for some years. Age and death of those guys like Miss Weeks' brother, they, you know, became old and couldn't handle it. And so it went out of people's existence for a while. And people are happy today to see the poppy coming back. So my task this morning, I'm going to urge all of you here, officers, everybody who's here present, and everybody who's listening to my voice on the media, that we are encouraging each and every person in Antigua to wear a poppy in support of our organization. The funds that we raise, this is one of our biggest fundraisers, and the funds that we raise takes care of those men and women who would have been in the defense force before you guys know, because this is the kicker. When I served in the defense force, I was paid $30 per year. Right? And out of that $30, the quartermaster then will call you, you march up and you salute to him, and you say, Brown J, you ordered 2 beer from the bar. I never drink beer. And so when he finished with his deduction, there was nothing. So there are many, there are many men and women out there today in Antigua and Barbuda that we found after we organized and revived the association who are living on hard times. And so the funds from the poppy appeal, thankfully to the Royal Canadian Legion, who supplies us with them, they've given us the permission to use it for the benefit of those men and women who would have served, especially before 1981. You guys after 1981 making big salary now, no, can't cost for that now, big check to carry home. Those guys didn't have any. So once again, I would ask that the whole of Antigua and Barbuda, listening to my voice, will just support our poppy appeal for 2024. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. President. The executive of the Antigua-Barbuda Ex-Servicemen Association, we're making a concerted effort to heighten awareness about the organization and about the use of the poppy, and also to heighten awareness of all the persons who served over the years. This year, we are featuring the Scouts. In an age where concern is raised about the demise of our youth, the Antigua-Barbuda Ex-Servicemen Association is pleased to give a supporting effort to a youth organization whose founder and root is military. Many of us who have served can point to our interests and our participation in Scouting. I am a prime example, having started my love for the sense of camaraderie and belonging in the 3rd Antigua Cub Scout pack. I was a Cub Scout originally. Then I joined cadets. Then I joined the Defense Force. Love a uniform, I suppose. The story of scouting and its military roots finds its genesis in the UK military in the person of Robert Baden-Powell, 1st Baron Baden-Powell. Robert Baden-Powell, born February 22nd, 1857, in London, England, and died January 8, 1941, in Kenya, was a British Army officer, who became a national hero for his 217-day defense of Mafeking in South Africa during the 1899 to the 1902 Boer War. He later became famous as the founder in 1908 of the Boy Scouts and a co-founder in 1910 of the parallel organization of girls, the Girl Guides. Later, of course, the United States in 1912 became known as Girl Scouts. In 1884 to 85, Baden-Powell became noted for his use of the observation balloon in warfare in what is now Botswana and Sudan. After the war, he recruited and trained the South African Constabulary, so his connection with the police, thus being associated with the police at the time. On returning to England in 1903, he was appointed Inspector General of the Cavalry, and the following year, he established the Cavalry School and was promoted to Lieutenant General in 1907. Now, having learned that his military textbook, of course he wrote, entitled Aid to Scouting in 1899, was being used for training boys in woodcraft, Baden-Powell ran a special camp at Brownsea Island off Pole in Dorset in 1907. And he wrote an outline for the proposed Boy Scout movement. Scout troops sprang up all over Britain, and from there, and for their training, Baden-Powell's book, Scouting for Boys, was issued in 1908. He retired from the Army in 1910 to devote all his time to Boy Scouts. And in the same year, he and his sister, Agnes Baden-Powell, founder of the Girl Guides, and his wife, Olivia, Lady Baden-Powell, also did much to promote the Girl Guides. In 1916, he organized the Wolf Cub in Britain, better known as Cub Scouts, for boys under age 11. At the first International Boy Scout Jamboree in London in 1920, he was acclaimed Chief Scout of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge and celebrate the lives of those young men from Antigua and Barbuda who were scouts, who served and fell in the Great War. The Antigua-Barbuda Scouts Association, of which I'm a part, will partner with the Antigua-Barbuda Ex-Servicemen Association in this year's Poppy Appeal. Thank you. It is now my distinct pleasure to welcome to the podium our patron, His Excellency, Sir Rodney.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Everyone has been recognized this morning, so I want to say I very much appreciate the fact that that was already done, but to welcome all of you to Government House, but more so to what will be the bar in Government House. As you would realize, we are now in the process of restoring Government House. And this is the West Wing we have just about completed. And so we've had to move from the main building to these quarters. So you'll find our policemen, our security, our officers, our permanent secretary, everybody is in this West Wing, so as to prevent the government from having to rent quarters elsewhere. So we try to make use of what we have. But I must say it is a great pleasure to have all of you here this morning. And it is an honor for me this morning to stand here for the official launch of the 2024 Poppy Appeal. This annual event, which is organized by the Ex-Servicemen Association of Antigua and Barbuda, serves as a vital reminder of the sacrifices made by those who served our country and the wider Caribbean and protected our freedom. I am especially pleased to see students in attendance today, and led by Mrs. Amy Weeks, whose father and uncle have been involved in the whole question of the service to our people and maintaining our freedom. Your presence here today is very important because it ensures that the legacy of those who fought bravely in defense of our freedom is passed on to the next generation. The Poppy Appeal is not just a symbol of the past, it is also about the future. The Poppy Appeal, it is something that we can learn from, and ensuring that the struggles of the past are understood and that our veterans who underwent all those struggles, that they're not forgotten. Last year's appeal brought to a greater awareness of the significance of the poppy. And I'm proud to say that because of your support, we were able to remember and assist more veterans in need, as was said by the president. Was it the president and the chairman? This year, I encourage each of you, especially the students, to take up the mantle of remembrance and wear your poppy with pride, and learn about the sacrifices made by those who served. The poppy of its own serves as a symbol of hope, a symbol of peace, and a symbol of resilience. And as we reflect on the story of the poppy, I am reminded of the poem In Flanders Fields by Lieutenant Colonel John McCrae, written during the First World War. The poppy's red petals blossom amidst the devastation of the battlefields, symbolizing the courage and sacrifice of soldiers. It is our duty to continue to tell this story to future generations so that the bravery of those who fought is never forgotten. The Ex-Servicemen Association has continued its important work to support our veterans, particularly those who face difficulties, and you heard of that this morning as well. And I want to commend the association for its efforts, inclusive of its partnership with organizations such as the Scouts, locally and internationally, such as the Royal Commonwealth Ex-Servicemen's League, and to say that your dedication ensures that the memory of our veterans and their service lives on. To our young people here today, I want to encourage you to be inspired by these stories of courage. Your participation in this event today shows that you will understand or get a better understanding of the importance of honoring the sacrifices made by those who came before us. Let today be a reminder that each of us has a role to play in building a peaceful future. As we officially launch 2024 Appeal, I ask everyone to support this cause by wearing their poppy with pride. Let us stand together to honor our veterans, ensuring that their legacy endures and that they receive the support they deserve. Interestingly, I remember when we had the launch, when we were trying to create an awareness of the Poppy Appeal at Government House. I remember one of the members of the Ex-Servicemen Association saying that he had taken some poppies to a school for the school to sell. And at the end of it, he went back to the school in order to collect the poppies. So there was, at the time, there was a security man at the gate. So the man stopped him and said, "Yes, sir, can I help you?" He says, "I'm here to collect the remaining puppies that..." The security man said, "We don't have any puppies." You know? So in order to honor our men who have gone before, I want us just to stand and observe 1 minute of silence for those who have gone before. Yes. And also for Mr. Keith Eastman, our former welfare officer. Thank you very much. Do sit. With that reflection, I now declare the 2024 Poppy Appeal officially launched. And may this year's appeal continue to grow in strength and support. And may we never forget the sacrifices of those who fought for our freedom. Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Sorry. Your Excellency.
Now, this is my second copy for the day because my housekeeper who knew I had to come to this, she placed an old puppy. You may join us, Mr. Walker.
Excellency, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our Vice Chairman, Mr. Paget Messiah, to present to us the vote of thanks. You may be familiar with someone.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely, absolutely.
This is the day the Lord had made, and we will give praise and thanks in it. Your Excellency,
President, please.
our patron, we humbly thank you for graciously assenting to honor us with the launch of this Poppy Appeal. We do recognize that in times past you have done similar and more, and we appreciate it. We thank you, sir. To Sir Trevor, Brigadier, National Security Advisor, we give thanks for your presence, for honoring us here this morning. We thank you. To our Commissioner, hardworking Commissioner, especially in these times, we thank you, sir. So, forgive me, Commissioner Atlee Rodney. I'm confused with the two Rodneys. To our representative from the active service members in uniform, the gentleman representing the CDS, Colonel Phillip, thank you for coming, sir. To Mrs. Weeks, And the members of grade 5, forgive me, Miss Weeks, I think it is. We thank you for coming and sharing and learning what this process is all about. Thank you. To our president, chairman, executive members of the Ex-Servicemen Association, we thank you for the much work and effort put in to the launch of this function and the event this morning. Welcome, I say, and thank you for attending to the officers and other ranks of the active force as well. To the media who will see the dissemination and the promotion of our message, we thank you, especially ABS and staff present. To staff of Government House, those who work behind the scenes, hard working every day,
Including my wife.
indeed, who has been kind to us in times past, indeed,
And your wife.
during the promotion of, well, it's inclusive. A mention was made of the promotion to educate the current generation of the sacrifices hitherto alluded to of World War I and II. We cannot, at the risk of beating an old horse, a dead horse, we cannot overemphasize that it is the sacrifice, the deadly sacrifice made by our forebears, that on whose shoulders we are standing today, that we commemorate and we promote the public. And to men and women who also were part of the volunteer force before now, who have been recognized by the royal household for a stipend. We are thankful. We are thankful also for the support that we are anticipating from the general public. Without further ado, if I have not left anyone out, I thank you. Thank you very much for listening to me. Could you do me the honor of standing all for the creed, please? They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
Just sit for a moment, please. Excellency, we'll just have a slight adjustment. I'd like to invite our Commissioner Rodney and Colonel Phillip just to stand and the brigadier. Oh, yes. You have one already. Well, we'll go on like we pin it on. Yes, it's for the photo op, sir. And Mr. Musselton, come front too, please, representing the scouts, the young people.
I think the media wants to get a picture of the photo op. So you get one stand.
So we go in first?
Yeah.
All right. One at a time. So we go in here first?
We're going through the motions.
Oh, yes, all right. My wife made sure she fixed me up this morning before I left. But she did that last night, actually. And you're sure you know what the pin one and get is Miss Weeks?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be most appropriate.
Just for a matter of interest for the young people, the gentleman you see sitting there, that's Mr. Dayton Samuel. He served in the West Indian Regiment.
Yes.
Dayton Sam service. So way back in the 50s, he had a West Indian Regiment. He served in the West Indian Regiment.
And age has not wearied him.
Definitely. Thank you. must see.
No, I have mine, so he's just going to make a gesture. Yeah. You make a gesture.
You know who his grandfather is, right? Quinlan. Great grandfather, Quinlan. Inspector Quinlan.
Oh, that's okay.
Yes, uniform.